Hi, it's me Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to the channel, then please subscribe my channel and visit my Patreon page, link in the description.
After dinner, we prepared to leave. Mom was going to drive as far as she could, and then we'd find a motel. I had bought Christmas gifts for Mrs. Crowley and Jennifer, and I gave them to them with the instructions that they weren't to open them until Christmas. I had gotten Jennifer some earrings and a big fluffy bathrobe. Mrs. Crowley would find several beautiful scarves and 2 pairs of gloves. Jennifer had helped me pick out the kind she liked. They weren't elaborate gifts and didn't come close to repaying them for all that they had done for me, but I hoped they would be happy with the gifts. It was mid-December, and a light snow had begun to fall while we were having dinner. The Crowleys invited us to stay over, but Mom said that we had a long way to go and she preferred to make as much progress as possible tonight, while traffic was light. We hit the road after tearful goodbyes, mine at least, and hugs. Mom drove until midnight, and we had only made it as far as Utica, New York. The snowplows were keeping the highway clear, but the snow was blowing sideways by then, obscuring the road ahead. We found a motel with the vacancy light illuminated and stopped for the night. We finally made it to my aunt's house 2 days later. The snow had finally stopped falling by the time we reached Ohio, and we made good time after that. As I stepped out of the car in the driveway, I heard a squeal and only managed to straighten up before Suzanne and Lisbeth reached me. We hugged for a second before they broke away and went to hug my mom. They hadn't put on their coats before running out of the house, so we quickly grabbed the suitcases from the back seat and hurried inside where Aunt Sharon was waiting. "Hi, sis," Aunt Sharon said to my mom, and they shared a hug. Then Aunt Sharon turned to me, extended her arms, and said, "Welcome, Michelle." I smiled and said, "Hi, Aunt Sharon," as I walked into her waiting arms and we hugged. I guess I should start using my first name again, since that's how everybody at the station knows me. "Then welcome, Ashley," she said. Taking a step back, she said, "Let me take a look at you." I also took a step back to allow her to see me fully. I had put on the suede outfit this morning when we got up. The girls weren't exaggerating. "You're beautiful." "Thank you, Aunt Sharon." "Where's Bob, sis?" my mother asked. "He's in town, but he'll be home in time for dinner. Nicole is busy with preparations for several Christmas parties. Now take your coats off and come sit down. You must be exhausted after that long trip." Lisbeth took Mom's coat and my jacket, and while she went to hang them up, we followed Aunt Sharon into the living room. "I'm sorry that we weren't here when you both came this summer," Aunt Sharon said. "Bob had a major problem at the Coast factory and we didn't get back until the end of September. We couldn't leave there until he was sure the new production manager he hired had things under control." "I'm sorry we missed you also," Mom said. "Did everything work out?" "No, not entirely. There are still problems out there. Bob would be out there now, except I insisted he stay here until the holidays were over. Right after New Year's Day he's going back, so we'll have a lot of time for house hunting once things quiet down." "How did the moving go?" "We got everything loaded and sent the truck on its way," Mom said. "They should be out here in a few days. Everything will be stored at their warehouse here until we call and tell them to deliver it. We loaded up the car trunk and back seat with everything we think we'll need until then. Just let me know if there's anything you or Ashley need. The girls and I will help out any way we can." "Thanks, sis," my mom said. I was nervous about just packing up and moving, but now that we're here, I feel a lot better. Just think of this as your home now. "Ashley, how are you doing?" "Fine, Aunt Sharon. I'm happy to be here, although I'll miss my friends." "Did your friends accept your change?" "The ones that mattered did, and that helped me get through it until the others started to come around. Most kids had started to believe that I had been a girl all along. One that had hidden the fact because of a weird name imposed on her by an even weirder father. You haven't seen me in recent years, but I'm sure that Suzanne, Nicole, and Lisbeth have told you that I never developed the male characteristics that should have appeared when I became a teenager. The other kids figured that I was just hiding my female attributes with bulky clothing. Looking at you now, I'd never guessed that you hadn't been a girl all your life. That's the way that I'd like to be thought of. Jimmy is gone forever legally. By coming out here, where Ashley was born, so to speak, I'm hoping that I can forget that part of my life. Are you looking forward to being back at the television station?" "More than you can imagine. I'm sorry that I haven't had a chance to see any of your broadcasts. Mom wanted to watch all the tapes, so we took them with us when we left, but I'll be back on the air in 2 weeks. Ashley is fabulous, Mom, Lisbeth said. You won't believe it when you see her. I'd never be able to sit in front of all those cameras with thousands of people watching me and read the news, Suzanne said. Sure you could, I said. After a while, you don't think about the people that are watching. You just concentrate on speaking at the camera person. At least that's what I did. I pretended the people in the studio were the only ones paying attention to what I was saying. What are the sleeping arrangements going to be, sis? Mom asked my aunt. Ashley will have the room she used last time, and you'll have the one next to hers. They're almost identical in size, and were probably intended for staff, but we use them as guest bedrooms. Each has its own bathroom. Wonderful, Mom said. I suppose we should get settled in before dinner. I'm sure the girls want a chance to talk. Since we expected to be there for perhaps a month, we removed everything from the back seat and trunk of the car. I had packed whatever I expected to need for the first 30 days out here, and my closet in the guest bedroom was full when we were done. After carrying all the boxes into the house, Suzanne and Lisbeth helped me, while Aunt Sharon helped Mom. Ashley, are you happy? Lisbeth had asked me while we unpacked. About being Ashley instead of Jimmy? Yeah. Yes. Truly? Yes, Lisbeth. Good. I couldn't bear it if I was responsible for ruining your entire life. If I didn't want this life, I could have gone back to being Jimmy when I returned home. I chose to remain Ashley because it's who I am, not just who I've become. I didn't realize that before coming out here in June, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Even with the worries and fears that I had about coming out, my life back home was richer in that last month and a half than it was in the 5 years earlier. I went shopping every weekend with my girlfriends, and I finally found acceptance from my peers. Before, I had been sort of stuck halfway between the girls and the boys and had never really fit in. I ate lunch with the same group of girls each day, but I was sort of an honorary member of that group, and the friendship didn't really extend beyond the walls of the school. The jocks all thought I was a wuss and shunned me, and I didn't feel any bond with the nerds, although I guess I was one myself. Nor did I fit in with the goths or punks. So I just stayed at home and studied, or played my video games. You know, I haven't played a video game since I was here last summer and reported on the electronics show. Has it been difficult? Suzanne asked. Transitioning? She nodded. It hasn't been too bad so far because I managed to create a climate of confusion and make so many kids think I was a girl all along. And they bought that? Lisbeth asked with an incredulous look. They seemed to. Perhaps a lot wanted to believe it. Anyway, it helped a lot. Of course, the hard times are still ahead. I've legally changed my name, but that's only the first small step. My body is slowly adopting more of the characteristics of a woman, but I still have to face the surgery. And a lot of things, some maybe not so minor, are still ahead of me. I don't yet know what I'm going to do when I start work and they ask me to take a physical. And my sex is still listed as male on my school records, so I don't know what will happen when I enroll out here. I'd like to get a driver's license, but I didn't want one that named me as James Michael, so I delayed that process. Now I have the correct name, but it will still show an M for sex. Even after surgery, it will show a M. It's true that some states are still stuck in the dark ages, Suzanne said, and insist on showing the gender recorded at the time of your birth, even after the body has been altered. I don't know about the situation with Illinois driver licenses, but some states are finally recognizing that transsexuals should have their current gender reflected on official documents. Have you had an examination recently? I shook my head. Not since the summer. It's been more than 3 months? I want you to come to the hospital tomorrow so we can give you a complete checkup. Okay. Are you still wearing a corset all the time? Lisbeth asked. I wear my sleeping corset at night, and I don't think I could fall asleep without it, but I haven't been wearing one during the day unless I needed a 21-inch waist to fit into the clothes you altered. I don't wear it when I go clothes shopping, so all my newer clothes are for my normal 22-inch waist. I can see that you're still using the breast forms, Suzanne said. I haven't been using them for the past month and a half because my own breasts have been growing. But my real breasts are still comparatively small, so I put on the forms this morning in case I ran into anyone that I knew. They'd expect me to still be a C cup. I have to be concerned with my image again. You look a lot larger than AC, she said. My bra is very tight. It's probably because the forms are resting atop my own breasts. I should probably get the next smaller size until my own grow larger, or I get implants. I'll get them for you tomorrow, when you come in for your checkup. Remove the forms in the morning and just place them in the bra cups. I'll want to examine you real breasts. Okay. Have you heard from George? Lisbeth asked. Not in about a month. We were corresponding via email, but the time between his messages has been growing. I sent him a message telling him that we were moving out here, but he hasn't responded yet. He's probably been busy with exams and end-of-semester stuff. Yeah, probably, she said, as if she didn't really believe it. I didn't really expect him to remain interested once he got to college and was surrounded by all those pretty, freshman girls. Perhaps he never expected to see you again, Suzanne said. Massachusetts is a long way from here, and even further from California. I suppose. How are Larry and Kent? Kent's fine, Suzanne said. We're going out tonight. He'll be here around 7:30. Larry just got back home last night, Lisbeth said. Since he's going to school at Michigan State, he can come home on weekends. It takes him less than 5 hours for the drive. He's coming over later tonight also, because we'll all be tied up catering parties until after New Year's. The sound of the front door opening and closing distracted all of us for a second. That must be Daddy, Lisbeth said. Come on, Ashley, she said as she moved towards the bedroom door. I followed Lisbeth and Suzanne out towards the front entranceway. Daddy, they've arrived, Lisbeth said, as she led the way to her father. Hi, Uncle Bob, I said. As he finished hanging up his winter coat, he turned to face us. I smiled and moved towards him to give him a hug, but he took a step backward and held both hands up in front of him, palms forward, in a gesture that told me I should stop. He slowly looked at me from my toes to the top of my head. It's Cousin Ashley, Daddy, Lisbeth said. He nodded, but didn't lower his hands. I'm doing my best to deal with this calmly and rationally, he said to me, but I don't claim to either understand or agree with your decision to engage in this strange behavior. Bob, Aunt Sharon said sharply from the hallway behind us. Sharon, I said that I'd tolerate this, but I didn't promise I'd agree with it. And he has a right to know how I feel. It's okay, I said. I understand. Mom moved between Uncle Bob and myself before saying, how about a kiss for your sister-in-law? They embraced lightly and Uncle Bob kissed Mom's cheek. Aunt Sharon spoke up to relieve the seconds of awkward silence that followed. Ladies, dinner is almost ready. How about some help in the kitchen?
Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.